What I want you to do, I hope this book does for you, is touch your heart in a way that, Lee had touched ours. And may some of these issues in the book connect to you to a point that can help you as well on your journey in healing or awareness, or also just a human spirit story brings it all home, that everything's happening in our life for a reason. And I think there's this pull back the lens and say, wow, this played out in like a divine appointment kind of thing. And when a reader sees that, I think it's beautiful, because there's no mention of like, God as the driving force and all that. But I've had people that are like Jewish write me letters and say, the funny, I loved your book so much, and I saw God, the way he worked through it, the entire story, and how he had his hands in this, because it all kind of unveiled exactly how, it was supposed to. In a way, like the timing of the way everything was discovered, the way the meetings, the way everything happened. So I hope the reader would see that bigger picture about the story, and then also the deeper healing aspect and the heart movement of it. And it is. I will to say to the readers and out there is that it is today, December 3rd, is the 1-year birthday of the book. It was launched 1 year today. How about that? We changed this so many times, and today is the happy birthday for the Housekeeper. Like, it literally is 1 year. Love and Awards, and it's been a top seller for my publisher, and I'm so proud of it. And I'm actually pitching to 2 film directors in the next couple weeks. I'm really excited about it. I'm learning how to do that, like how to pitch, the idea of a book when you have 8 minutes to share this story. It's hard to do in 8 minutes because there's a lot there, but to unpack. But I think just getting some trigger words and trigger characters and giving the plot twist of it all, it might be the way to go. And I also have a couple trailers that really play it out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the author podcast. Get to talk to great authors from around the world. And we're going to do some housekeeping today, which is fun. Sandra's on the show. We're going to talk about her book and her journey as an author. We've got some secrets to share and a book to share with you as well. I'm so excited to have Sandra here. I had a chance to go through the book. It's a great story. There's a lot of puzzles in this book that we're gonna put the pieces together with Sandra. Sandra, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on Living the Next Chapter.
Yeah, thank you, David. It really is an honor to be here, and I'm excited about your listeners to get some feel about the Housekeeper secret.
There's a little bit of Easter eggs we kind of threw in there in that introduction. There's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today. It's exciting to have you on the show. Yeah. Sandra, tell everybody where you are in this big world of ours.
I am living in Park City, Utah at this time. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Mountainous. It's just for the first time this week, which is late in the season, but it's a gorgeous place. Yes, very
good. Born and raised there?
No, we just moved here. We had a rental in which we turned into kind of our home temporarily right now, and it's lovely. But we're going to figure out our next chapter. My husband just retired, so.
Oh, good.
Got lots of things in the works, including another book.
Well, I like that you use the name Next Chapter. That's the name of the show. So, yeah, I feel like we're friends already just by doing that. That's great.
I qualify. Let's just say I qualify.
You qualify. You more than qualify. It's great to have you here. We have, Sandra, we have authors that listen to the show. They come and join us for inspiration on their journey as a writer, their early days in the process. And they're looking to somebody like you who's published, who's done it. You've crossed the finish line. You have some knowledge that I don't have as the host of the show, as a non-author. I'd love to kind of tap into some of your inspiration to help that person. So what would have been helpful for you to hear early in the beginning of writing The Housekeeper Secret from an author that's published? What would have been a helpful bit of advice or suggestions from someone further down the road that we can use today to help somebody listening?
Well, in respect to your question, it is a loaded question for me
Right.
because just so your listeners know, I give hope to a lot of people who are not educated in journalism or creative writing because I was worked in corporate finance for 30 years. And the housekeeper secret came about because the housekeeper asked me to write her story on her deathbed. And I had no skill. I had taken a English 101 in class, and my first project was an essay about the housekeeper. And I sent it to Lee Metoyer, and she loved it. So I never was trained, essentially to be a creative writer. But when like it was 15 years after she died is when I found her ashes in my mom's closet, who had just died. And that's when I went on the journey to figure out what this story was she wanted me to write. So my journey to actually, once I unveiled the secret and her past and all this incredible shock that just set our family like literally stunned about who Lee was and what she was really about, because she wasn't the person she said she was. Hint, hint.
Yeah. Indeed.
Was I went on and said, I need to write this book. This is the book she wanted me to write. So I came into writing classes. I went back to school to Rice University and took lots of writing, exercises class. I formed a writing group. I went to writing conferences. I basically dived in head first. To do that, I had to quit my corporate job. So, and I would, my first thing was to just Google how to write a book. And then, like that was so basic, but I ended up just getting introduced to one book and I wrote the story through, but then I ended up needing developmental editors and people to help me get the story to the level it is now published, which took about 10 years.
Wow.
10 years and about 3,000. I tell people I wrote about 3,000 or more pages. I wrote through my pain and healing. I grew. It was almost like Lee's gift from the other side, asking me to write her story because it became my story and my healing. It was my story from my perspective, who Lee was when she came to my house, how we knew her and what little she gave us about herself. And then me unraveling who she really was and why she did what she did. She was basically living on our 44-acre estate and she was hiding out and she didn't want to be found and didn't want to be found out for 30 years. And she didn't,
Wow.
and we didn't know the truth about who she really was until 15 years after she died.
So how old were you when you met her then?
I was 3.5.
3.
She arrived at our house. So she basically raised me. And it was the closest thing I could imagine to me. She was a lovely lady. Writing this story for authors out there that want to write their book, if you're called to write a story and you're called to leave a legacy, because your words will live beyond you, it is the best gift you can give, your future generations too. And I do believe that the story that she asked me to write taught me more about who I was. Not only did I learn about writing, but it taught me more about finding a sense of peace in my life, finding a sense, I had to learn to slow down, take things in. I even started meditating. I started really questioning and thinking. I'm a very curious person in general. I think that's what makes a good writer.
Yeah.
If you ask the right questions, you can write the right book. Because you want to lead your readers into curiosity too. You always want to keep them turning that page.
Yeah.
And this story really led me to that skill because the story was riveting. Just in the story carried itself, even if I was a poor writer. But I wanted to get it to the level to honor Lee's request to write a good book.
When was it for you that you had that conversation with Lee around writing the book? Like, how long ago was that? Kind of how did that come up as a subject matter, a topic to discuss between the two of you?
Well, during the 30 years she lived in our with our family, from the time in 1965 that she arrived to the time she died in 1994, she had always, she got real comfortable with us. She sat at the dinner table and she'd always blurt this thing out going, I have a book and nobody will ever believe it. And we're like, well, what is this story anyways? What is this story? And she's like, just wait, just wait. And she kept saying, I'm going to write it one day and nobody will ever believe it. And she said this numerous times, like, oh, just blurted it out in the middle of nowhere. So we would always tease her about it. Like, come on, it's just a promise or a threat, so forth. So then when she became 72 years old, and this is her, like 30th year with us, she came down with lung cancer, and it traveled pretty quick, emphysema. And I came home. I was living in Australia at the time, and I was visiting home. And my mom said, Lee wants to spend some time with you today. Will you go downstairs and talk to her in her room? So I sat next to the bed, and she said, Sandy, she said a couple other things too besides the book, but she started out and she goes, I really want to thank your mother for everything she did for me. And I'm like, wait a minute, you did everything for us. I didn't understand that one at all, but now I do, because I know the truth. And second, she said, that book I've always said I was going to write. She goes, I'm not going to be able to write it now, but will you write it for me? And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I'm not a writer. I'm in finance. I just got married. I'm trying to have kids. We live in Australia. I just didn't even know what she was asking, but I told her I would try and I would do what I could when the time comes. And basically I left it at that. So 15 years fly by and my mom dies. So my mom never knew the truth either. She never knew the story.
Wow.
And I find our whole family unites to empty her house out, and we find Lee's ashes from being cremated because she didn't have any family that we thought we knew. And we found him in my mom's closet. And we said, what's this book she wanted me to write? And I said, well, I don't know, but you know what we should do is we should find her. She had a backstory when she came. She said she had a husband and son that died in a car accident and that she had no family. And don't ask her about them because it might upset her, which I asked her a lot later. And I thought, well, I'll go find their graves because they're very Catholic. They didn't cremate then. And I'll put her ashes with them. We'll reunite them. Honorable thing to do. And that was my journey for 2.5, 3 years. Just looking for these people. I didn't even know I knew the son's name, but what she told me he was, but it turned out it wasn't him. But that whole journey was very frustrating. I had gone through governmental records, marital records, birth records, every possible avenue that they existed, and I couldn't even find them at all. But she had these pictures on her mirror for the 30 years. When she died, they were still on her mirror. Those were the people that died in this tragic car accident that I later found out, and this is not the secret for the listeners, that I later found out those people did not die in a tragic car accident. It was kind of her cover story so that we wouldn't pry into her past. But I did end up finding out what really happened and why she reinvented herself and came to our house. And it was quite a shock. But the fact that what she did was so admirable to me today, because she wanted to live apart from her past. She wanted to leave that pain behind. And she did it in a way that worked, and she was able to love another family. And we were able to love her so much for who she really was, which the question was she really the person that she said she was? Because she wasn't the name or the birth date or the past story or anything she told us, but we had the essence of who she was in her heart, because she was such a lovely lady.
Wow. Wow, there's so many.
I know.
As I'm being careful what I say, because reading the book, I know a lot, and I want to make sure that we honor the book, because this is there's many things in here for a reader to discover, and I want to make sure we honor them, because that's the joy of reading your book. Yeah, is you're just like, wait, what? Oh no, wait, now what? Now what is this? Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack. It's interesting when I'm reading about her, and one of the things I think we can talk about is the fact that she was deflecting any kind of questions about her past or her family or things like that. That was kind of like a arm's length conversation. It just seemed like she didn't want to go anywhere close to that topic, and deflecting it or moving away from that topic or dismissing it, that was kind of the default setting. I'm thinking of people in life where they've had some pretty traumatic things happen to them, and they don't want to talk about these things. They want to be a different person than the person that those events happened to. So
Right.
as you look back in hindsight now, as you look back over the many years of her being with your family, do you see more of that evidence happening where she was not engaging in conversation around those topics? Was it more clear, kind of looking back now,
Oh,
than
yeah.
it was maybe in the moment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's, a lot of it was looking back, like there, well, I was probably the most annoying person in her life, because as much as we were really close, we were both the fifth children in our families, and we both shared a traumatic brain injury, which I didn't know until later that she did, but she knew so much about what I went through and to help me heal. But
Interesting.
yeah, we were very much in alignment, but she was very clear that anytime I would ask a question I would help her clean a lot, because I was her like right hand person. It
Yeah.
was part of my healing with a traumatic brain injury to keep focused on different projects. And I would just go, by the way, like, what was your sister's names again? Or what did they do? Or how did you learn how to be a housekeeper? And all these questions, she would just give me a one word answer. And then all of a sudden she'd shut down and she said, enough already, get to work, or do your homework, or whatever it was. It was the only time I really saw her angry. And of course, I always push that button every now and then. And it was because my curiosity kind of bubbled up inside me. I'd be like, I almost felt like her energy was, holding back something. I felt that. Like, I was a very sensitive kid. And none of the other sisters, they were all busy with their social lives. I was home a lot because I had this accident. So it turned out that I was very aware of Lee, and she just seemed like she was hiding. But there was she had false teeth at a very young age. When she came to our house, and she'd walked, like she had been harmed. She had like something going on with her feet. She said she had frostbite, and that's why we should always wear our, boots and lots of coats when we go out. We used to kid her that she had childbearing hips, and that was funny because, when you find out the truth about her whole past, you kind of put everything together. And you start to think about all these little side notes and conversations, and how she didn't like taking baths. The readers will see what that means.
Right.
It was just so suspicious that it all added up. After I found out what happened to her and how she lived and what all the different things that she had to go through, I realized every single thing that we had said in the past would maybe trigger her. So I had to push back.
What is it like to have somebody ask you to write their story? It's kind of your family story at the same time, but for you to write on behalf of her, that kind of mantle that's been handed to you, and you're like, I'm not a writer. I haven't done this. What do you mean, me write this? Like, what does that mean to you now, kind of knowing that the book's out there and people are reading the story, that this is done? Like, you've accomplished something you were asked to do by someone who trusted you to do it.
Right.
What does that feel like now?
Well, it really feels like I honored a very huge request, and I honored it in a way that I, honored her life and gave her life meaning to many people today who love Lee and can see her spirit through the pages of the book. And now going back to the writing, initially I thought, okay, write your book. I'll write your book about your life. But when you really sit down and think about it, I knew very little about who she was, other than coming to our house, giving a backstory, and then how she interacted with our family. Those were the things I knew about her, which explains why, we had to write about her arrival and who she was among my father and mother and me, and the rest of the family. But when I really sat down in these writing classes, they said, you can't just write about another person. I mean, and you don't even know, and you can't even interview her with all these different questions you have now and new knowledge about her. What you need to do, a memoir, is about my story, uncovering the truth about her, my suspicions through my life and who she was to me. And since the arrival in our family, and then how she affected me throughout the years. And then it goes to the next chapter of how I discovered the truth about her.
Yeah.
That was really the real story. It wasn't me trying to dissect like all these details that happened to her and how she felt, because I don't know how she felt. I never was able to interview her because I didn't know what happened to her until after she died.
Do you think that finding your family and making that connection and being there with your family for so long was a safe place for Lee?
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, we were so isolated and naive. Like
Yeah.
we were so happy to have her there just to be able to watch baseball with, and she had such an like electric spirit about her that you just wanted you like my friends would come over not to play with me but to hang out with Lee. Just to sit with her and watch a ball game was just like entertainment. To watch her
Yeah.
jump out of her seat when there's a hit. It's she was very special, and yeah, I do think that all her being made us embrace her even more, but not we never in a million years would have imagined that she had survived something of the unthinkable.
Yeah. Right.
And been so she was basically isolated on our property, and all of us we were almost like self-absorbed in our family, and Lee was there to witness everything and then interject her wisdom when needed.
Yeah. Do you think Lee would have been impressed with how the book turned out, and would it be the kind of the same tone that she would have approached writing her own story?
I don't know, because I wrote it from my perspective.
Yeah.
I think she would have told more about maybe some of the things that happened, to her. She
Yeah.
may have been she I think she saw her story as like a movie, because she really did see her life. There's a whole aspect of her life is that she was born into a very famous Creole family in Louisiana. They were the wealthiest family in all the Creole society. And then when, of course, the Louisiana Purchase happened, they all got dissipated and eventually had to, relocate to Chicago. But they have a museum in Louisiana that is just amazing. It's all about her ancestors and how they came to be. And they were fighters, they were survivors. And I think, Lee is too. Lee carried that torch in her life. And that's one of the beauties about this book, is that it has such a deep historical content of the Creole society.
Yeah.
And it has a personal content of family, love, even dysfunctional families.
Yeah.
And it has this investigative journey that goes into like, who was this person? And oh my gosh, what happened? And then this unfolding of all of these other things that happen after we make this big discovery. So I think it is a wild ride.
The amount of things you've learned in the process of writing this book, do you think that was kind of like a parting gift from Lee to you, that you're going to learn all this information about her family and the history and things that you didn't know, just that you would be the one to uncover these things on her behalf? Do you think that was like a gift from her?
Oh, it was definitely a gift. But at the time she asked me, she didn't want to die without knowing that there's a possibility somebody would do the research and figure it out and write the story. I honestly don't think at the time she could envision how great the book turned out.
Yeah.
How good the story was able to be, resonate with so many people in the world today, who I get messages from all over the world that read this book that say like that I can, relate to so many different aspects of this book, or one particular aspect that has to do with, narcissism or, abuse or whatever it is. They relate so deeply that they write a big long letter to me. So it's sweet that it touched a lot of hearts. And Lee's vision, I think her vision was to help me heal too, because she saw that I was very much affected by my father and his abuse, his verbal abuse, and also my car accident, which I had this, lagging brain injury that caused me to, be a lot slower earlier in life. But eventually, with all the things she taught me how to do, I eventually just woke up one day and figured the world out. But she also saw my curiosity, and she was like, yeah, she's going to ask the right questions that'll help her heal and also get the story somehow out.
As you think back of that opportunity, you had to go down and sit in her room and talk to her. She wanted to speak to you. Looking back now that the book's done and all the work you've had to do to create the book, would there be any questions that you wished you would have asked her that day when you sat with her, when she asked you to do this for her, that would have helped you or would have kind of filled in some of the gaps for you? Would there be any of the questions that you would have asked her back then?
Yeah, I think, gosh, I would have. Well, back then, I didn't know what I know now,
Right.
of course. But I did ask her, like, why do you think my mom? Why are you thanking my mom when you were actually the one doing everything for us? That I didn't understand that. We should be
Yeah.
thanking you. So I let her know about that. I think, for sure. I never asked her why me. I kind of knew that she knew that I was a driven and I persevered at everything I did, that I would, when the time came, I would persevere at it, which I
Yeah.
quit several times. Just to all those authors out there, it is not easy to finish a book. I think the statistics are 97% of people say they're going to write a book or try to write a book and they don't finish. 3%
Right.
finish. So when I really studied all these statistics, I was like, I want to be a 3%er
Nice.
because I want to honor this, request. And here we go. I'm a 3%.
Yeah. So, okay, for the readers then, Sandra, like, again, we don't want, it's a book of secrets, so we can't discuss all the secrets because then that's the point of the book. But I really want to make sure that the readers that are listening are so hooked on this book that they just can't wait to buy this and buy it for someone else or coming to that time of year where we're looking for ideas for our loved ones. What can we talk about together about Lee that would help us understand a little bit more of the story without spoiling anything for our readers? Mm-hmm. Again, I've read it, so I know I'm being very careful with my words because I don't want to mess anything up for anybody. I want people to love your book as much as I do. What can we talk about together about Lee that won't impact the reader's uncovering of some secrets as they read?
Right. Well, it is a book about resilience and
Yes.
survival. But I will say this, that even if, like we talked about some of the things that happened to Lee, and this has happened in some book events I went to, because there would be like 50% of the room would have read the book and the other 50% didn't. But I talk a bit about the spoilers a little bit. But I will say, just from like talking to some of these readers that didn't read the book and then went to the event, then they were really excited to see how it played out. They said I mean, there's not like a one secret here. This is an experience of unfolding of a truth that was so buried deep and lasted so many years that the reader actually experiences the unveiling of the truth as they read the book. Like they're almost like in the room with me as I'm discovering the next thing. And I do that in descriptive writing. And I think that's really important, to use senses, smell, taste, feel, and have that emotion on the page so that the reader is walking alongside me as I'm actually discovering the truth about Lee, because they've already fell in love with Lee from the earlier chapters, seen her in our family and her wisdom and her love. And then they go through this process of discovering the truth about this person they already loved too, just like we loved her. And then they go through the reconciliation. It's like the revelation part of the arc of writing, where after you get to the crisis and you discover the truth, then you're like, what do you do with the truth? What do you do with the truth? You have a revelation. Like, how did the truth change me and how I see the world? I see the world differently. I see woman as resilient people. I see this as a whole woman movement too, because like, the survival of this woman is unthinkable, even of her ancestors. When you go back into that chapter,
Yeah.
She had 15 children and was out spearing bears in the middle of the night while she was holding her, concubine job in the day. I mean, how does that work? I mean, it's just incomprehensible. And then Lee, who had so much at stake in her life, and she had this secret that she hid behind with our family, who she loved so much, and my mother, who's like her kindred spirits. They were so close, yet she didn't want my mother to know. And really, her prayer was answered because we didn't find her ashes in my mom's closet until after my mom died. And I understand how she didn't want my mom to know that she lied. She lied about everything to get the job. And I don't know if my mom would care because she ended up loving her so much, but she, she did. My mom did come up to me a couple times. She goes, if you keep prying and asking Lee questions about her past, she's going to leave because she's really upset that you're asking her too many questions. And I'm like, okay, I'll stop asking. But it really bothers me because there's all these things I'm thinking that she's not telling us. And my mom's like, just leave it alone, And it really did, like, the whole life from her arrival to our house to her death and then to the journey of finding out her truth, it almost plays out like a movie. Like, how does somebody do this and become a different person? In that today's day, they can't do that because they got Google, you got background checks, I think she had some help with the maid agency too to cover up her tracks because they helped with the lie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, from your parents' perspective or your mom's perspective, as for sure, like you want to protect your family from a stranger moving in with your family and taking care of your children. You don't want to have just anybody, so you'd want to make sure that they're not lying to you. So I can understand that's a broken trust, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like she probably wouldn't have qualified as she told you the truth, and she wouldn't even been part of your family had they known, right, at the beginning. So at that point, there's no relationship. It's just a person coming looking to help you and be part of your family, to help you work for you. There's no commitment there at that point. So yeah, you could easily say, here's my truth. And you're like, well, that doesn't match with our family. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So, right. So she had to kind of work her way into your family. But again, going back to feeling safe with your family and that she needed that safety to survive. That was your family's connection with her is so deep. It's amazing.
Interesting
Right?
about that.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is when she arrived, she always tells a story, like when she's coming up in the taxi and all the dogs come out and we're all lined up on the stairs to meet her. And it's like, it's like a picture of the gone Sound of Music,
Yeah.
And, but she always said, she goes, in her mind, she's like, I am not staying more than the 2-week trial period and I'm not coming back. This is way too much. This is a huge property, a huge house, too many kids. She was overwhelmed. But then as she stayed here and there, we were really trying to win her love because we just saw how she was so sweet. And then it wasn't long before she realized we needed her more than she needed us. Yet even though she was saying she was in an apartment in Chicago, she was living in a homeless shelter. We found out like later.
Yeah.
Wouldn't commit to staying with our family till 3 years in. She would just go every 2 weeks, she'd go away for a weekend and she would go back to the homeless shelter telling us she kept an apartment in Chicago. So my mom finally got real curious and called around and found out this. And then we were, like, you need to, we have a room for you. You need to stay here. Cause we got all attached to her. We were like, my mom was worried about the muggings and all these crimes that are happening in Chicago in the 60s. And still, but it was really a big thing for her to commit. But I think there was something about our family that kept her safe, that she was so isolated and she didn't want to be found and didn't want to be found out. She really felt like she would never be found out with our family because we were clueless. We just went along with loving her, and we were very simple people.
Yeah.
From the heart.
Yeah. I do agree with you. I feel like as I'm reading your book that I feel like I'm right there with you the entire time. It just does feel like a movie. There's a lot of visual to it, a lot of connection points for us as readers. So again, that's exciting to feel that for for you as a relatively new writer, to the way you've pulled this book together is outstanding. It's just it's beautiful. So congratulations on that. From a reader's perspective, it's really engaging. I can see why you win awards for this because it makes sense. It's a great book for us as a reader.
Right.
What does, if you could talk to the reader, they're going to get a copy of this book. It's going to arrive at their home, and they're going to have it in their lap before they open the cover. Give us kind of your, come in the room for a second and go, oh, but you bought my book. That's great. Let me tell you something before you read this book. Your love letter to a reader, your connection point with a reader before they start reading. I really love to kind of hear what you would say to a reader that introduces the book to them in a personal way before they start reading a single word, because I just think that's a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
What would you say to the reader that has your book, they're ready to start reading today?
I would say, dear reader, thank you for buying my book. And what I want you to do, I hope this book does for you, is touch your heart in a way that, Lee had touched ours. And may some of these issues in the book connect to you to a point that can help you as well on your journey in healing or awareness, or also just a human spirit story brings it all home, that everything's happening in our life for a reason. And I think there's this pull back the lens and say, wow, this played out in like a divine appointment kind of thing. And when a reader sees that, I think it's beautiful, because there's no mention of God as the driving force and all that. But I've had people that are like Jewish write me letters and say, I loved your book so much, and I saw God, the way he worked through it, the entire story, and how he had his hands in this, because it all kind of unveiled exactly how it was supposed to. Yeah. In a way, like the timing of the way everything was discovered, the way the meetings, the way everything happened. So I hope the reader would see that bigger picture about the story, and then also the deeper healing aspect and the heart movement of it. And it is. I will to say to the readers out there is that it is Today, December 3rd, is the 1-year birthday of the book. It was launched 1 year today. Wow. How about that? We changed this so many times, and today is the happy birthday for the
happy birthday book.
Housekeeper. Yeah. Like, it literally is 1 year, Love and Awards, and it's been a top seller for my publisher, and I'm so proud of it. And I'm actually pitching to 2 film directors in the next couple weeks.
Good.
I'm really excited about it. I'm learning how to do that, like how to pitch, the idea of a book when you have 8 minutes to share this story. It's hard to do in 8 minutes because there's a lot there, but to unpack. But I think just getting some trigger words and trigger characters and giving the plot twist of it all, it might be the way to go. And I also have a couple trailers that really play it out a little bit.
I got one more question, Sandra, to wrap up. I could talk to you all day. I love the book. I love talking to you about the book without talking about the book at the same time. Yeah, right. It's hard to keep a secret, really hard to keep a secret. Let's talk about your website, Sandra, because I want to end off with a question to kind of wrap up our conversation today. I'm on your website. It's beautiful. I love the cover of your book, by the way.
Thank you.
It's just, there's a lot to talk about. But talk about your website. We're going to have a link for everybody to come and connect right to you. But for a new person coming to your website, what should we be looking for? What should we do when we get to your site?
If they want to, know a little bit about the journey of the book this last year has been there's been 30 podcasts. Not all of them are on the website, but we tried to put many of them on, and hopefully this one. and then we have articles that were written and a lot of different things. And my events have been for a whole year. I've done so many events, and they've all been, invitation only from people that have read the book that said, I have a group of people that want you to come speak, and country clubs and, backyard garden parties of 200 people. I mean, it's a book that people love because it sparks conversation about family and really sensitive things. It's a very vulnerable book. And some of my We just did like an Oprah dinner. Like I wasn't with Oprah. I did like another lady named Elaine. She did an Oprah dinner format, like a really fancy
Nice.
private dinner. And it was like 25 people. And we basically had that same format that Oprah does, where you ask people about the story and just talk casually about the book. But those types of events are all on the website, the different things that we've done. And I think and I'm willing to do any events for anybody who has, is a part of a group, a book club, a country club, a kind of anything that has a group that wants to read the book. I can do a Zoom presentation if it's something I can't make, or I can show up in person if it's a big luncheon or something like that and do this, be the speaker. Because
Nice.
I have a basically a slideshow that takes you through the journey, introduces you to all the characters, or most of the characters, and tells some backstory about my writing journey that's more specific to what books really inspired me, and what, how I really learned how to plot out a story, how you had to learn how your brain works. That's the plot whisper helped me with that. But there was a lot of like on writing with Stephen King. Stephen Pressfield wrote The War of Art, which is a beautiful book that really talks about the resistance to writing, where you have a lot of resistance when you're about to break through to something new. And it would,
Nice.
and I would say I faced a lot of resistance. It's easier. It's always easier to give up. It's harder to
Right.
keep going, but you got to do one hurdle at a time, get through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel that Lee was with you during the writing process?
I did. I really,
Yeah.
not all the time, but I tell you what, every time I quit, she kept me up at night. She was like, there was some haunting going on. I don't know what it is, but I believe there's spirits that actually stay with you. And she was, and also there was some guidance. Like there was people put in my path that got me over the next hurdle that I had quit. I'd quit because I couldn't get any farther. Like when I couldn't find the graves, then suddenly this person appeared that helped me with this investigation. And I was like, it was a miracle. And I just got through something very huge. And I do think there is no accidents. There's no coincidence. Everything happens in the right timing. I've always been a prayer warrior myself, so I've always prayed for guidance and wisdom to, if this is to be, guide me to it. And as much as I was hopeful, I was also, at times my husband was also like, I'd be walking, around in the middle of the night. He goes, just finish the book. You'll never sleep. So he was kind of funny about it, but he was like, this is something you have to do. Because obviously you're never going to have a good night's sleep if you know. Yeah.
I like it. My podcast is Living the Next Chapter, Sandra. So one of my closing questions, I guess, for you would be great success with your book, a year old, happy birthday book. But my audience would love to know the answer to this question. How are you living your next chapter? Are you going to keep writing? Can we expect anything from you in the future? What are your plans?
Yeah, I'm trying to incorporate writing another book in my next chapter life. And now that my husband's retired, when he was at work, it was a little easier because, he's gone. Now I'm just like, okay, what are you going to do while I'm over here? So yeah, I'm working on some projects, and we're also trying to figure out, how everything's going to unfold. We haven't figured it out yet, but we are keeping to our goals. I do want to write a book. I do want to have, maybe move to a warmer climate, as well, like part-time.
Yeah.
Right now I'm loving the snow. We big skiers,
Yeah.
but
Good.
It's all in the making of what and how we'll do. Yeah.
Awesome. Everyone, Sandra's website will be in the show notes as always. The Housekeeper's Secret. There's a lot for you to find out, and I hope you really enjoy it. It's a great read. It's a great book to share with somebody as well. So don't just buy one copy, buy two, and leave a review for Sandra as well. She'd love to hear your comments, and your comments will help other people to identify that this is going to be a great book for them as well. So use your words well when you leave your reviews. Don't just write great book, great author. Put something in there so people can read and understand why this is such a great book. And let's keep Lee's story alive and in front of people, that many people will be helped. I think that's one way to honor her and her legacy. And Sandra, I'm so grateful that you picked up this mantle And you, even when it got tough, you kept writing through it. And here we are celebrating with you. So congratulations on being in that 3%. It's so great to have time with you.
Yeah. And I hope that your authors out there do persevere their stories, because that's pretty cool. It is quite an shock to see how that the book has resonated and vibrated like through the societies and cultures and different people, and it's amazing. It kind of has its own life of its own.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, The Housekeeper Secret.
And you can be part of the life of this book by grabbing a copy for yourself and someone else as well. Sandra, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.